Hello there! In this video I'll be showcasing a cannon that I've had on my plot for quite a while now. I want to explain how it works, what it is, and why you need it. When people are countering, they adjust a lot. Okay, so people put like their cannon at Y200 and the roof of their cannon box at Y255. So when people are countering, they'll just go, yeah, we'll fight 255, 240, 230, 220, 210, and they're in, pretty much. So what people started to do, the raiders, they started to move their cannons up to Y210, Y220, and that's nice and all because it's easier to patch and it's harder for them to adjust down even more. So they actually have to force multiple spots to breach your cannon, but it makes it so you can adjust to fewer spots on their walls. Because if your cannon platform is at Y220, you can only adjust up from like Y223 or 4 or some shit, instead of being able to go from Y200 to Y255. Like with this cannon, all the spots that you can adjust to are these diamond blocks. Or are they? This is a cannon that fires lower than the actual cannon platform is at, Y240 in this case. There's multiple ways of doing this, and two of them I really don't want to use. So the first method is the anti-grav or arcing method that shoots everything down under the cannon box with a specific ratio. So the power will get shot down, the projectile will get shot down, and they will form almost a horizontal line, a horizontal relation to each other. That makes it so if the power explodes, the projectile will move forward and upward slightly. So that's the anti-gravity or arcing way, but that's not useful for force rating at 255. That way of doing things was used in the VU AG by Kidder, the first operator in this list. I'll leave a link to his channel or that video in the description. Another way of doing it would be to shoot everything down into an external barrel. So there's some experimenting right here. But if you shoot the powers down and then the projectile down in midair into an external barrel that then pushes everything up again to sky limit, yeah, that would work, that is possible, even though it's really hard. But on every single server that would fall under U-Fusion rules, because you're using two barrels and shooting from one barrel to the other and then out. So that would definitely be illegal. And this is like a gray zone. So there's four rules, so to say. One, it has to be easy to use. Factions players are not known to be the brightest, so just have some levers and let those guys do their thing. Don't make it too hard to use. Adding to that is it has to be able to be used for force rating. So you want to be able to fire at spots that are actually useful. You don't want to use like 4 or 5 ratios to have like multiple mid-air arcing patterns that you can do to fire at different spots. Because one, that's not very stable, and two, it's not useful for force rating. Two, it has to be secure. Okay, so there's no point in building a cannon at 240 if there's massive holes in the floor where if people breach at a low Y they can just burrow through. So it has to be secure. And then the fourth and last one is size. This is already a pretty big cannon, but it's not massive, you know? It can't be like 100 blocks long. That's not nice for force rating. And instead of adjusting down, they'll adjust to the side then, like a side counter. And that's a vulnerability again. The whole reason that this cannon is needed is to make patching your cannon so much easier. So you need fewer people patching and you can have more people forcing on their walls. Now I'm gonna fire this thing a little bit. It's maybe really loud. Let's hope not. Ooh boy. So yeah, my frames are definitely noticing this. But as you can see, I'm just adjusting to sky limit perfectly. Then if I flick this lever down here, it will adjust all the way down. And it will still nuke and still work at yeah, this is around Y220 and the cannon platform is 20 blocks higher. So you may have some theories, but I'm actually gonna explain how I did it. Essentially, this cannon is just a center-aligned cubic, but the barrel is in mid-air. I use these center-lined infinite boosters that I've used in the toggleable U fusion as well, and they push all the power through here, well, it stays center-lined, onto this ladder. Then another booster falls from up here, which is also center-lined, pushes it up through the cobweb. Cobweb is there so the bottom booster doesn't affect this top one. Speaking of this top one pushes the power, which is currently pushed by that booster, into that block and falling down. It pushes it out through the cobweb while triangling down to this block. So, where does the power end up? Right here. Right here, aligned to the center and the bottom of a block. So what's going on the other side then? Well, this is just sand compression. It is, it's not a very pretty sand compression, but it works. It was just more like I had to get this done as soon as possible because I wanted to test the concept. There's a slightly cleaner one over there, but I do use boosters that are one game tick apart for this sand comp. So this booster down here that pushes the power into that block, and this booster back here that pushes the sand into the exact same block, they go off at the same time. That means that the power and the hammer get shot here in the same tick, which means they start falling at the same time, which means they accelerate at the same rate, and they move within the same 1 by 1 by 1 block, just aligned differently within the same block. They keep their cubic alignment, but they're just in midair and they're falling constantly. And then all I have to do is wait. So I'm relying on gravity for everything to fall down to around here, and this is where the power explodes. And well, the alignment still works, the alignment is still fine, so it just explodes and it realizes, oh, the power is center aligned back here, the sand and the nuke are top aligned right there. We'll just shoot them up to the left and forward. And because I'm relying on gravity, how low I can adjust is determined by how much everything falls. And because TNT is limited to 4 seconds of life, I need to make sure that everything spends as little time in the cannon as possible. I'll fire it once more after explaining that. So all the boosters go, and then everything goes, and as soon as it all hits the floor, it's out and it starts falling. So I use as much time as I can to get everything down, because every game tick counts. This is also the reason why I don't use 1 rev, because this uses a 3 tick hammer. When you use 1 rev, you'll use a 5 tick or a 7 tick or a 9 tick hammer, but all of that just adds delay, and the power is already dispensed at that point. So it's best if everything renders as soon as possible, so we can get it out of the cannon as soon as possible, and it can start falling as soon as possible. Because it accelerates, right? So every game tick is gonna go down a little bit more than the last time. So every single game tick that you can add is gonna mean more and more and more the more game ticks you have. That's how I'm able to adjust 20 blocks down, and because I have so much time that it's falling. So these are my 2 powers. The hammer is right here. So the sand comp as well drops 3 layers of sand on a 21 long sand comp. Couldn't really make it much taller. Like I couldn't move this entire cannon up 2 blocks now, but now I can still move freely. But I can't use like a really tall 1 game tick sand comp. Therefore this 21 long 6 game tick comp, 3 layers, was my best option. And then the nuke. The nuke looks really fucking pathetic with the slap bust as well. I don't know, I could have added more TNT, I could have blocked this up to stop it from bouncing up. But it works fine for the prototype cannon that it is. Yeah, one last thing that I need to explain is of course these pistons down here. If I adjust down, if I flick a lever down here and I fire the cannon again, you'll see that it doesn't actually expand, it's just gonna really temporarily pulse out. If you saw that. That is because if I had a piston right here, a piston that's just expanded like that, the shot would fall down and it would stack on this, the sand would break. The TNT would just all get aligned flat now, there wouldn't be like top and bottom alignment. Yeah, it just wouldn't work. So the way I did it is I have a piston right here that pushes through a solid obby platform, so they can't just creep or egg through there. This piston pulses very quickly, which powers this piston, which pulses very quickly as well. That pulse gets extended right here, and then travels into this line of redstone. And if you flick a lever, the line of redstone is going to point into a block. Signal is going to be read by the repeater, and then it's going to extend the piston 1 tick and then 2 ticks later for the powers. Also, the reason why I don't have both powers falling through the same hole is because if I had the first power falling and then the second power right after it, the first one would blow away the second one. And the reason I don't have them closer together is because, yeah, same reason. They need to be 7 blocks apart to not affect each other. So just added a button right here that I can show you guys how the system works. The signal is going to travel down, it's going to extend them for a very short time. That's it. So the 4 points that I made earlier, the 4 rules that I set for this. Is it easy to use? Yes, it has levers. You want to adjust down or up, you just flick a few levers. Is it useful for force rating? Yes, yes. Instead of getting these blocks, you get all of these as well. So hell yeah. In this setup you don't, but you can use different types of setups that give more Y spaces. Is it secure? Yeah, sure. Like, they can still kind of breach if they fire at this exact spot and their shot hits like right here. So yeah, the pillars down, they are protected by cobwebs. You can just water these. And then the size, yeah, okay, this is a big cannon. It could have been 2 blocks thinner though, and also 2 blocks shorter, as you can see. It was designed to be that size, but I had to run this instant wire, and I didn't want to rewire everything or redesign the entire thing, because again, it was just a prototype. That is about everything I wanted to say. I'll leave the question to you guys. Would you use a cannon like this? That can adjust 20 blocks under the platform, even though it may not be super practical. And do you guys know any better ways of doing this that maybe don't fall under the U-Fusion rules? Because I'm really curious, and this could be a new force rating meta, I don't know. But anyway, it's a fun cannon, I guess. I had fun making it, and I've surprised or confused a few people with this already. So I'd say mission accomplished with that. But that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you hadn't seen anything like this before. Thank you. Subscribe if you want to see more of these dumb videos, and maybe even some actual decent, useful releases. But that is it for me. Goodbye.